Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a very good morning to you. This is Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo and broadcasting on TV1. And you can actually follow proceedings on www.tv1.lk. And joining me this morning is that eminent legal personality, complete with his scarf, and we all know who that is now, Mr. Gomin Dayasiri. Very good morning to you, Mr. Dayasiri.
Thank you for inviting me.
And delighted to welcome you back onto the set.
Thank you.
Sometimes people say, but it's the same old people, or the same people. We'll forget the old. But what we say is, it may be the same people, but the subject matter is different. And this morning, I want to start the proceedings by asking Mr. Dayasiri, in his opinion, has the government delivered on its promise to arrest the corrupted and the thieves?
Well, no is definite answer, because the thieves and corruption has got enlarged. I mean, one was very hopeful that this government was elected on the basis of good governance, and something that everybody looked forward to is that there will be some degree of elimination, though may not be comprehensively. But still, what has happened is these same old crooks are back at the game. What has happened is they have changed the shirt from blue to green, but they are operating on the same wavelength.
A journalist in Britain asked me on the 8th of January, as soon as he heard the news that, you know, the invincible have been defeated, and he said, Faraz, is it likely to be the same wine in a different bottle? I think that is right.
Well, this is the problem for us. Our electoral system is such that we are compelled to have coalition governments right through. And the coalition government contains many people from the last government holding posts. And they were not the cleanest. But what is shocking is that no allegations are made against them. They are totally loose free.
I beg to differ slightly and to be a little bit more precise. The allegations are there. There is no investigation against these lot. That's what I mean.
That precisely. They are let scot-free. They concentrate only on their rival politicians. Now that is bad, because these people have equal allegations against them, but nothing is. They are not pursued. So naturally, coalition governments of this nature don't get far, because people are very suspicious. And it may be that this government has to face the problem of carrying some of their worst enemies within their ranks.
Now then, if we go to the, if you remember the times when they came in and they were elected and they had a new government installed and so on, they made some promises. And if you remember, it was the highlight of all the newspapers. It's reams and reams and columns worth of stuff written on it. So I thought we'll have a look at these things, the things that they haven't done. Because after all, the things that they've done, we all know and we acknowledge. But here's the stuff that they haven't done. But shall we take it one at a time? Cabinet to be appointed, maximum 25 ministers. Now, Monthly.lk has given them a rating of 33%, because obviously the cabinet is far in excess of 25.
It has to be for us.
Has it become a necessary evil?
It is, undoubtedly, because you can't have a coalition government with just 25 ministers, where so many people have to be accommodated, so much so that candidates who are defeated are once again very much not only in parliament but as holding office as cabinet ministers, because it means that they have to be accommodated. So this is a very tragic situation. People have rejected them. They are once again back in parliament through the back door.
Are we so bankrupt that we need to do that?
That is because of accommodation. I mean, this is the trouble with coalition governments. You've got to please so many people, And some of those people are not even in parliament. They have been rejected by the people. And what do you think is the hope for them next time? Do you think people who were rejected once, after a few more years in parliament, are going to be rejuvenated? No, that won't happen, and they will probably be not in a position to contest next time. And that is a problem that this government faces.
And but of course, constitutionally, there is provision to have a cabinet of ministers in excess of 25, where there is a unity government, a national government.
Yes, that is where coalition government concept comes in. You don't have to restrict yourself to 25. Now that is stupid, because it should be any government. And why should it be when it's coalition government? You are not having any numbers. You can have any excessors.
Indeed. So in fact what you're saying is, if it's a coalition government and if the figure is still 25, then you're going to get a much more firmer and robust team together.
Obviously, because 25 is a number that is controllable. When you have excess of 25, I mean, see the expenditure that is incurred. That means ministries, cabinets, ministers' facilities, all that has been provided to the excess number.
And these costs are every day. If you take, say, 90 cabinets, with deputies, everybody, 4 vehicles each, that's 4 times 90 makes, that's 360 every day. So you need to run them, petrol, diesel, staff, drivers, overtime, and the list is absolutely endless. So there you go, that's one thing. National Advisory Council to be formed, apparently that has not been done, or a little bit of it has been done. What's your take on that?
Well, I suppose the sting is in what is undone than that is done, because one has to also credit the government. I mean, it started off on a happier note. There was a certain degree of media freedom, but that is also now highly curtailed. I mean, the Prime Minister goes around attacking journalists, naming them and attacking them. And what is worst is the very people who are supposed to be in command of the situation in matters of discipline, like the commanders of the forces or the IGP, there are so many allegations against them too. So this is rather tragic, because people at the top who should be maintaining discipline is having accusations leveled against them. So where are we going? I mean, if that is so, in time to come, whom are we going to look up to if you can't look up to a command? And what is bad is the international image we are getting. For example, I, having defended the Navy so many times in their human rights matters and coming out clean, now feel very tragic that the commanders of the forces are being accused of assaulting media men.
I don't want to hold a candle to this thing, but what I want to say is this. Okay, there's that there, and it would have happened in a moment of annoyance and anger and a flourish, because what of the other side of the story, that these people who were engaging, they were actually engaging in piracy. They were like pirates. They'd taken this ship, and what would it do to Sri Lanka's rating, security rating, if, say, Lloyd's, for example, had imposed or decided to impose a higher premium for vessels calling in Sri Lanka, because they would say, well, we're not safe. 4 days, I think it costs about $100,000 a day to keep this blessed thing afloat.
But Faraz, but the point you miss is the party was assaulted was not one of the parties committing any crime. He was a newspaperman. He's a third party.
Yes, yes.
So what right have they got to attack him?
No right at all.
Unless there's a cover-up. Yeah. They were scared that they would publish something that is unfavorable. So I can well understand if it was directed at one of the parties to piracy, but certainly not. Here was a man who was reporting incidents. You have no right to touch him whatsoever.
That's right. That's true. But neither have those people got the right to go and it's all very sad.
Not sad, it's tragic. I mean, it's very bad for the image of this country. And what is important is, will there be discipline instilled after this was? Will there be an inquiry? Will there be action taken against the wrongdoers?
I think that's underway now.
Hopefully.
Another point, standing orders to be amended. Nothing has been done about that.
Yes, I mean, we can see the events in Parliament becoming even rowdier day by day. I mean, it's I mean, what is the example that people are holding out? People in top places, top positions, they set up a bad example for themselves. So if that is so, I mean, standing committee rules should be modified so as to bring discipline between the proceedings in the House. Those things are not happening whatsoever. It's getting worse.
Well, if you're talking about examples, then a little fella whom we bumped into on our journeys around the country, we asked him what he wants to be when he gets big. He said he wants to be a politician. And I said, why? And he said, they got lovely big cars. So there you go. That's the perception being created here. So all you parliamentarians who haven't sold your licenses and so on, and who are maintaining these big vehicles, you're setting a great example. Youngsters are wanting to emulate you guys because they want the cars. They don't want anything else. So there you go. Code of conduct provided for observation.
I thought there was a code of conduct now been prescribed by the Speaker. I don't know whether that is being followed, but I thought some...
It's all chop. It's all chop.
Oh, I see.
It's all talk.
Oh, I see.
They're not walking the talk.
Right. I thought that they're walking the talk because there's so much of it in the papers of code of conduct that is very essential at this time.
It's sad sometimes, Mr. Dayasiri, it's sad sometimes when people use their standing to twist it the other way around. In the case of the Speaker, Mr. Kaljasu is acknowledged to be a gentleman politician, but sometimes, you know, and you talk to him, he's very charming and all that, but what on earth is he doing? Why hasn't he sent the COPE report to the President? We're told that the President has spoken to him twice. Well, you know, why is he hanging on to it? What is he trying to cover up? Is he part of a cover-up? That's what I would like to know. Perhaps the Speaker will listen to this program and provide an answer. It's not only to the program, it's obviously to the people. Establishment of a mixed electoral system committee. Also, progress zero.
But is there some headway made there again? One hears that the local government elections are not being held because they have a delimitation commission to demarcate seats of areas for where you can vote for an individual. But
you know, Mr. Dayasiri, even in my dreams, I can hear Minister Faisal Mustafa telling me the delimitation process is not finished, and when it finishes we're going to have it done. This is reverberating in my brain the whole time. Every time I see him on television I'm thinking, oops, he's talking about delimitation again. Why can't they get it done and call the elections?
But I thought they were going to go ahead with it. If that is so, that means they...
But what's the point? They've delayed the whole blessed thing so long, and now they're saying we're going to have the elections under the old system anyway. So, Mr. Mustafa, I think we need you on the show and come and tell us what's going on.
That's a very important question that you should answer, because I think elections have been postponed on this and people have no election.
Yes, so what's the point? They've been postponed, and at least if you find light at the end of the tunnel, then it's easy to understand.
No, because it's absolutely essential that we have mixed representation, both the PR system and direct voting.
Right, but apparently they're doing it only on the old system. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy that we have to wait so long and then find out that, oops, we're back to square one.
It's shocking.
Shocking. So there you go. And then adoption of ethical code of conduct. Progress according to Mantri.lk is zero. So adoption of ethical code of conduct. What's happened there?
Well, same thing. I suppose nothing. I mean, none of these things are on the way.
Establishment of commission to investigate corruption, and my producer Chaturanga says that they did this last night. Okay, all right then. So they've done that then. So good for them.
Belated, but it has happened.
It has happened. We must be generous. Establishment of independent commissions. They've done some of it, but not all.
But I don't know whether that is at all successful, because how independent are they? I mean, so far the track record shows no independence whatsoever. I think it's the same as it was before.
Why do you say that?
For example, let us take the Constitutional Council. They are supposed to make appointments.
Yeah.
But can you say that any one of these appointments, for example, let's say the Election Commission, they should be breathing down their neck, the neck of the minister for not having elections on time. But what are they doing? I mean, have you heard them even make a whimper of it? I think you make more noise than the commissioners.
Oh dear. Introduction of National Audit Bill. Not done.
I mean, that is one of the most tragic things. You have unearthed the question of what's happening at the central bank. The Auditor General gave a report.
Yes, but isn't it astonishing? You know, the Auditor General gave a report on that matter, and he very specifically said that he is dealing with facts and figures only, and therefore he was able to put a value, a loss. He was able to quantify. Take note, Minister of Finance, he was able to quantify that loss, and he put it at 1.6 billion. Now then, he also said that the losses could be greater, but he didn't go and calculate that, because it was spread over 30 years and there were many ifs and buts to take into account, which would mean that there was an element of speculation, and he was only interested in facts and figures, and he was not into speculation. And this bit of explanation from the Auditor General is being turned around by these politicians and who say that that he didn't have the necessary expertise. That's tosh. He does have the experience, but he didn't want to deal with speculation.
But also we must remember there's a COPE report, there's a report by the central bank. We have 3 reports before us. And has the central bank taken any position of recovering the money? That's the prime need of the country.
And what is also quite funny, if it wasn't so worrying, was that the governor of the central bank, the new governor, says that he has censured this particular company on 2 occasions, and he provides the dates. But he stops short of telling the public exactly what those censure, what entails with the action he has taken. Why can't he say this is not his personal fiefdom?
No, really what is shocking me is we all praised, we were very happy when he was appointed, but his performance doesn't measure up to the standards we expected of him, for the simple reason that what his prime need is to recover the money. That is public money, that's the money of the people.
But it's worrying. You see, if a public official did something wrong and if he was indicted, he'd be sent home on full pay. So he's suspended. Somebody does something wrong in a company, they may suspend that person, you know, whilst they do an investigation or whatever it is. But in this case, this company, they haven't suspended them, or not that we know of. They've supposedly censured them. We don't know what it is. Well, this is a fine joke, and it is.
Well, what is strange is, I mean, the protection comes from politicians. That is understandable, because politicians protect people who are often wrongdoers. But public officers, for example, a person of high eminence like the governor of the central bank, he has a duty. First duty is to recover the money, take steps to recover. Has he taken any steps? He's only talking. I mean, this is the thing, that you get very honorable people being appointed, but then do they maintain that honor by doing what is correct and proper? Or do they just simply succumb to politicians? That is what is tragic.
Introduction of the Right to Information Bill. Finally, the Newsfirst.lk has got 0 progress here, but it has been.
Yeah, I thought it has been.
Yes, and I think they're in the process of appointing information officers. I'm told that you'll need about 2,000 of them, and my cynical mind says that's 2,000 opportunities to put your own goleas into these places.
But anyway, some steps have been taken.
Some steps have been taken. We can't be cynical all the
No,
time.
we couldn't.
Stop
And we
it,
shouldn't.
Faraz.
And we shouldn't do that.
We shouldn't. We should be positive about it.
Well, we should be totally unbiased.
We should, that's right.
No
We should wait to
prejudices,
see.
and whatever good this government has done. I mean, I really admire them for the early days as press freedom is concerned, and I now condemn them comprehensively for going back on that track. I mean, today we find...
How right is it for the Prime Minister to take these journalists, to take us to task?
Completely wrong. I mean, here is a man who knows journalism, who comes from a home of journalists, And he taking on journalists purely because they are critical and they have every right to be critical. Remember, it was the media that was responsible much for the downfall of the last government. I mean, all credit to the media, because I think there are only few brave people in the market today.
I think all credit to the media and to their publishers,
Of course.
who had the wherewithal and the purpose of mind, and who were not intimidated by anything.
Very much
Stones,
so.
bombs, Claymore bombs, the whole lot.
Very much so. I mean, all credit to them. But the thing is, why is the Prime Minister picking on some of these journalists? I mean, he doesn't pick on the state dournalists, it's always the private sector journalists.
Do you think that he thinks that the private sector might be easily intimidated?
These brave men will never be intimidated. I mean,
Yeah.
the last regime tried it. Both has tried it, but they failed, and they are today helpless. They have to run to the same media for their own publicity, and they know but they'll never learn the lesson. Once they get into seats of power, they will behave like rather stupidly, and that is exactly what the Prime Minister is doing. He was such a great supporter of the press, and
What has happened to him?
I think when power gets into you, it corrupts you. It makes you dizzy. It makes you topsy-turvy. And that is what has happened. He's done a full circle, and now today he's naming names and blaming press people. That is wrong.
It's almost as though he cares tuppence for the people. In between all this consternation, he then decides that it's time to give all members of parliament 100,000 rupees more. It's like some sort of court jester.
No, in that sense, Faraz, we have to admit that the president behaves himself much better. I mean, he is far more respectable, respectful to the press. But the Prime Minister, who comes from a home of journalism, behaving like this, it's unthinkable.
It's very worrying. Adoption of a new electoral system.
I think we spoke about it earlier.
Introduction of the election laws bill, only half done. Adoption of the national audit bill, adoption of the right to information. There you go. So, these are the much of the things that they've roughly 50% has been done. 2 years on now.
Well, if that 50% has been done effectively, that's worthwhile. I mean, 50% in 2 years is understandable. But is that 50% really effective? Is that 50% of any value? I don't think so. I think they are really down to about 20%. Because let us say there's press freedom. That has now been taken away comprehensively. I mean, we find people in the highest positions assaulting. Now, this is very bad. I mean, can you say there's any kind of discipline in the parliament or outside parliament? Do you get discipline anywhere? And these are law enforcement officers attacking third parties, journalists, for reporting incidents properly or correctly, or even if it is misinterpreted, they have the right to misinterpret. That is the right of a journalist. But as long as they are not doing anything illegal, you cannot take them to task. And no allegation of any illegality by the press whatsoever.
That's right. A very unfortunate
and also, Faraz, you see, I'm very sad that the press council or the press commissioner has made a certain statements trying to implicate this pressman. I mean, he must be impartial. He can't be a prejudiced officer.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we have all sorts of people condemning that action, and it's time that they actually drew a line underneath it. And of course, here we go. The island, God bless them, they're always writing these powerful, hard stories. Prime Minister seeks legal remedy to control social media. Necessary? Unnecessary?
It's not only social media that he's trying. He's trying to deal with not only the social media, but with the effective press which runs under license. Now, he cannot do these things. I mean, the controls must be effected by impartial bodies, not by the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, if he tries to do it, will be prejudiced. He will try to get the best for his political vision. or his political party. That is not what should be done. Social media has certain responsibilities and they should act in a responsible way. I will say they are not acting, some of the social media outlets, because they are getting over defamation because they are not accountable. I think to that extent the Prime Minister is correct. You must make them accountable.
But it's a global problem. How are you going to if Sri Lanka blocks them, they'll just use a proxy server, and they'll bypass the system.
But you know, what is important is there must be some kind of licensing authority that any person who does control some space in the social media has themselves registered as to take ownership. That is all that is required, because rest of it the public can do. If somebody is defamed, they can act against the person. But today you don't know who is behind the media because there is no control.
That's right, but it's a global problem.
It's a global problem, but they have to deal it on a global level at least, because the rights of individuals also have to be safeguarded.
Perhaps Mr. Prime Minister needs to go abroad and meet all these people and put them all together and play a lead role. But I fear that this is a problem. It's not going to go away, and it's not easily technically solved.
But Faraz, if you remember, there was the last government did prohibit certain.
You can prohibit, but you can bypass the system very easily.
You can bypass, but in bypassing, your readership can get narrowed.
Very little, because I think the use of proxy servers is getting easier, and more and more people are becoming aware of it, and especially the youngsters. You know, the young man who hacked into the presidential website I don't think he was even 18, and so the level of familiarity with all things computers is taking the world, has overtaken the world. It's more than a storm, and it's certainly not a storm in a teacup. But of course the Prime Minister is absolutely right. There are some websites that are completely and utterly excess to requirement.
Yes, and also there's a lot of pornography that is in circulation. That such things should be controlled, because social media doesn't mean you have the liberty and the license to do anything that you wish to. They have social responsibilities.
I can see a lot of work for cybersecurity specialists here, especially because, you know, it's this mix, the mix that we are trying to achieve, isn't it? A country that is by and large quite God-fearing, be it Buddhist or Hindu or Christian or Muslim. Sri Lankans have, it seems to be, they pay quite a bit of attention to matters ecclesiastical. So on the one side you have that, and on the other side you have the culture, and then you have the availability of all these different websites and so on. You need to try and match the two. But in between, you have to also bear in mind that you mustn't tread on the toes of freedom, media freedom, press freedom, the freedom of speech.
But I think much of this stems from the fact that we are still about 2 generations behind in the politicians. I mean, we are still with the politicians of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
We don't have a new generation of politicians coming up.
And that is the problem.
And that is very necessary, because while the world is moving fast in sophistication of modernization, we find the same old people or their progeny or their children or their relatives still in parliament. I mean, you're not opening the field of in the democracy. You must have open door policy where anyone with popular could get into parliament. That is not so, and much of the blame, I think, is with the party system and the PR system.
Indeed, but isn't the main problem one of where the parties nominate people without taking recognition of that person's, whether there are any charges against that person, whether he is fit and proper. The March and 12th Declaration So until these parties start, you see, they're only putting forward the same old names. So the people can only choose from the same old names.
It's not the same old names. If it's a new name, it's related to the old name. Now that makes it much worse, because it's the same family, that is, family domination is taking place. Even at, say for example, you find most of the provincial councillors are relatives of the MPs or their friends.
Indeed, or their children.
Or very often it's their children or their wives. So
or girlfriends.
It is possible. So there it is. So we got to get this new...
I'm being told off because our main control room wants us to wrap it up. On that note, we shall wrap it up. Gomin Dayasiri, many thanks indeed for being on Newsline. It's lovely having you, as always. And it's brilliant having you as our audience. And thank you very much. Take care and have a wonderful day ahead of you. God bless.